Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 35, Pyrrhic Return.
Yeah.
Largely what I call a bookkeeping episode.
Yeah.
All things that sort of had to get done to tie up the ends of the quests. And
Before they forgot about him because the note taker's dead.
that was a hilarious beginning to the episode. Because they were like, wait, somebody told us that. Who was that? Yeah, so good. Negotiating with and debriefing Treshy.
Yep.
Is the bulk of the first part of the
Thank you, Rose.
episode. I think we discussed whether or not he knew anything, and we were shown that he knew nothing. We also talked about how I thought the Paradon's call were holding him hostage, and it seems that they basically were.
Yeah.
We got some random encounters. A dust storm with a skill challenge.
Yep.
And I don't think our cast is used to them. And or Matt has never, or did not, in this case, for sure, recently refresh them.
Yeah.
On what was needed from them. And there were a couple points where he tried to nudge them in the way that Matt nudges at the table, where the particular example that I'm thinking of is Imogen using calm emotions.
Yeah.
And Matt says, well, we'll call this a persuasion check. And since you're using the spell, I'll give you advantage.
Right.
And FCG and Fern both didn't bother rolling a skill at all. They left it up to the NPC. Although Matt did make them roll.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. And boy, did they biff it. And they really biffed the strength save to stay aboard the ship.
Yep.
Do you think it was fair of them to fall all the way to the ground? And here's why I asked that.
Okay.
They all narrated tying safety lines. That they were doing what the crew did. Or most of them did.
I mean, I would have made them make checks to tie out the lines, especially since they're not seasoned crewmen.
Fair. I mean, yeah, and we, it's a sleight of hand check.
Yeah.
So, fair. And yeah, Rose, maybe they're not skills need improvement. It's a good point. I don't know. I just kind of amused me. that he did that. The second positive check for an encounter is it was another storm.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, they got speed off of it. Well, I guess we should talk about the excursion in the dunes, such that it was.
Okay.
And the Fremen Fern.
Yeah.
Walk without rhythm. Do you think her love of jazz would help with that?
No. I was gonna say if she took like 2 steps to a drum beat, then 2 steps to a horn, then 2 steps to maybe, but that's getting a little too complicated.
Fair. And I was also thinking, stealth might not be the skill. That maybe it might be better to do dexterity deception.
I would have said dexterity performance. I because it's moving with or intentionally without rhythm. I would make it dex performance.
Fair. We get a lot of Ashton and Mojin, as Chetney has decided to nickname her.
Yeah.
Taking care of Laudna's body.
Mm-hmm.
And getting the items off of her that they want or need. And Ashton dealing with some stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that I think
Ashton had me in the feels this episode. Between the trauma flashbacks and the grieving over Laudna, he had me in the feels.
Yeah. I think arguably this was Ashton's episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes him MVP necessarily.
He's mine for this episode.
That's fair. I think he certainly met all of our criteria for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, Rose. Especially, yeah, the whole, and that's what I mean by the trauma flashback with the no one left behind, and then.
Well, the thing is, that is contrary to what his attitude was originally.
Yeah.
Which is what I find to be interesting. And I think in large part it was because he was like, I would have done the same to them. I would have left.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll leave you. But when he saw it through that first detect thoughts experiment that they did,
yeah,
he's dead leaving, seemed to affect him.
Yeah. Well, and I'm wondering how close he was to the person, not that said that, but the person who that was said to. And I'm wondering if that's what triggered the change.
Yeah, I don't know, Rose, if we'll actually meet his old crew. I think, arguably, for closure to happen, he needs to.
I don't think we'll meet everyone from his old crew, but I think we'll either meet the person that said he's dead, leave him, or the person that it was said to. I think one or both of those people from the crew we will meet. And it'll either be the tearjerker, I thought you were dead, I didn't want to leave you, or the confrontation, why did you leave me?
Yeah. And Rose, I was also thinking about the Tomb Takers. It's an interesting parallel that I kind of hope one day somebody asks Taliesin what group he felt abandoned by. That it's been now in two characters' backstories.
Yeah, and the other one, he abandoned his family. Lots of abandonment going on with Taliesin's characters.
Yeah. Sort of like how Liam was recently asked about PTSD and Caleb. And Liam's like, to be honest, I hope no one would ever ask me that.
Yeah. Yeah, like when Molly met Crete.
Yeah. We dock in Drusar.
Yep.
And not much is made of the gondola rides this time. Laura, to her credit, did mention that she casts calm emotion on herself.
Yes.
Do you think because I was trying to think of like other examples in fiction, but the one that comes to my mind right now is Garrick in Deep Space Nine, where he has the implant in his brain to pump him full of endorphins to make the pain go away of being on Deep Space Nine. Do you think at some point we get some kind of an arc where Imogen becomes dependent on using that spell?
That would be interesting. I don't think so. But I think it would be interesting.
We meet up with Estros, and Travis rarely gets excited for what might have been.
Yeah.
And boy, did he get excited for what might have been to just walk into Estros' house.
Yep.
Estros, after giving them a name of somebody who owes him a favor, that can teleport them to where they might need to bring their friend back, gives them between 14 and 16 pounds of platinum. and they decide that they're gonna go for the bounty,
Right.
and deliver Treshy to
Not remembering either.
Shoshana
Yes.
Shadri, Oshana Shadri, Shoshana. They couldn't say it right either, and that's why I'm having trouble.
Right.
That's my defense. I'm sticking to it. Where they get about 240 pounds of gold, platinum, and silver.
Yep.
Which they eventually separate out to be 3,333 gold to each person, which is 66.66 pounds of money.
Nice round number.
And this is why I say encumbrance is important. I had my rant last week, and this week I have provided a new.
Yes,
another
perfect
example.
number for Bell's house. You know, it's not going to last long, especially if they're going to Whitestone. They're going to bulk up on magic, and I cannot wait for Vex to just haggle them and take them for more than their...
Yeah, well, and there's also they're going to need a larger diamond.
Yeah.
Raised Dead, I think, is 500.
Mm-hmm. If they go with Raised Dead, I mean, if we're going to where a 20th level druid and a 20th level cleric are.
So, yes. Yes. Very big possibility. Keyleth bypasses Raised Dead and just casts Reincarnate.
Well, see, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to bring that up because you have the ethics of saving Laudna versus letting Delilah go away. And Reincarnate to me is the perfect answer.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with the old body. And it just puts the soul into a new body.
Yeah.
And that is the way to save Laudna and let Delilah wither.
Yeah.
Now the question is, are they actually going to do that?
Yeah, and...
Or is Delilah attached to Laudna's soul?
I think it seems, what we've gotten so far is it seems to be the body. And FCG casting Gentle Repose
Right.
put an end to whatever Delilah was planning on doing.
Yeah.
I.e., making her fully undead. And
yeah,
coming back as this campaign's version of Lucian.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Full Sorcerer could be interesting. Or maybe they'll go a forward route and give her a different patron.
So, I think rules is
Like
written.
the Raven Queen?
I don't think the character loses or changes levels.
Yeah.
They just come back as a different race.
And there's nothing that says in Warlock, in rules as written, once you have those levels, your patron actually can't take them away.
Yeah.
Those abilities. So
now
you can not progress, be able to progress. But
I think the Raven Queen would make sense.
Especially given that they're going to Vox Machina. Ooh, what would be interesting? Going off our whole Ruidus thing, the unknown god that the Raven Queen vanquished be her patron. Especially if your theory is right and they're going to be rebooting to get rid of all the gods from other companies.
Yeah.
Although, not rules as written, but it is the perfect opportunity for retraining your levels.
Yes. And I think she gets to re-roll all of her stats with reincarnate.
Is it all or just physical?
I don't remember.
There's him right here. Pardon me, I just want to know for my own personal.
No, I mean, I couldn't remember if I put it in the shelf or left it on the table, so it's a good thing it was there. So what kind of worries me though about Keyleth doing that? I don't think she will, because when we're getting ahead of the episode, but here we are.
No,
she
it
said,
just changes racial traits. You don't reroll any of your stats.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right then. So, scratch that. She said, "I'm going to take you to somebody who can help you," which means she's not intending to help.
Which is why I brought up Pike, the cleric.
And it makes sense that Pike would be in Whitestone because of Bertrand's funeral. It was only a few weeks ago. Yeah. And Pike doesn't have the world hopping capabilities of Keyleth.
Right.
And we know she goes back to Whitestone regularly because that's the headquarters of the Slayer's Cake. We know her and Scanlan got a divorce. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if that became their home. She has the plate of the Dawn Martyr. The Sun Tree is sort of one of the Dawnfather locations in Exandria, so it makes sense that she would be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very possible we'll get Pike, Vex, and Percy. If Pike is there, Grog might be there.
No, especially if it was the funeral, any of them might be there. Scanlan, Tarion.
Yeah. Yeah. We had somebody going through our backlog on YouTube, and I'm going to blink on their username. I'm sorry. But they found my Requiem for Trinket short story, and I'm like, that's all I've been thinking about since Thursday. Is the fact that Trinket most likely is dead. Unless he's been cooped up in the necklace, or through Ranger magic, Vex is essentially reincarnated Trinket.
Yeah.
Which is totally possible because...
Or it's Trinket Jr. or Trinket the Third.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know how extensive it's going to be in the let's meet up with Vox Machina. It seems like Matt has a lot that he's worried about.
Yeah.
In the weight of the guest star appearances that he's going to have to play.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, let's be honest. There is a chance that they refuse to bring back Wilde. Especially if the threat of Delilah is involved. They mentioned Delilah being a patron. They'd be like, sorry, that's too big a threat.
Except that,
I mean, on one hand, they're going to be like, we owe this girl. She died because of us.
there is narrative reason for there to be consternation.
I mean, that's how he mitigates the guest star rules. No, we're not going to help. Go find someone else.
I don't think that's his route. I think they're going to bring her back. Even with Delilah being in the picture. Whether or not they tell them or not. Number one, Laudna hates Delilah. Imogen hates Delilah.
Mm-hmm.
And Vox Machina knows that sometimes to defeat these kind of things, you have to find them in their home plane and destroy them there. And right now, they don't know where that is.
Right.
If they bring Laudna back, they might be able to find out where that is.
True.
And then that could set up either a Vox Machina one-shot,
yeah,
where they go to kill Delilah again.
Well, the other thing they could do is because Orm said, his husband couldn't be brought back because of something with how he was killed by the Shadow Assassins.
Mm.
It could set up a whole quest, a whole arc point, getting the thing needed to make it work to be able to bring back Laudna.
Yeah. Which falls into some of the DM advice you find about dealing with PC death. About, making it a quest to get them back.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that.
And it could be a Tyrion thing where Marisha brings in a temp character while they go look for...
Could she play one of the DeRollo children?
She most certainly could.
We know canonically they have a tiefling. A tiefling gunslinger?
Yeah.
She
She could play Whitestone Andy.
Yes. Um, but yeah, we've jumped ahead of what we talked about earlier about this being basically Ashton's episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we jumped over the digging in Ashton's brain portion of the episode. And I think Matt is getting closer to he's getting closer to something in that I think he has at least one, if not more than one, dream adventure planned. And I think we've been joking about it for a while, that it's been on the horizon. And we thought it was going to be Imogen.
Yeah.
That it would be
and
facilitated.
especially since FCG has made a spell, Shared Dream.
Yes, that was so funny, her reaction to that.
You have I made a spell.
So good. Which, if you think about
Once again, Sam taking a page from Big Brother Liam.
Yeah. Now, he said he's had it for 20 episodes. Or he designed it 20 episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's been able to cast it for that long.
No.
Because I think it's got to be a 3rd level spell.
It could be a 4th level. It could be one he just gained access to. Designed earlier, just gained access to, because now that they're 7th level.
Yeah. I guess it depends on what exactly it allows for.
Right.
And if upcasting it allows him to bring more people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was...
Well, I mean, sending is 4th level.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know. I think my gut says it's a 4th level spell. Like, sending works across planes. This is basically going into the dream plane.
Yeah. Their ship rolls cold table during this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And cold dice rear their heads again in the dream sequence, or mind meld sequence. Both our subject and our investigators don't roll well at all.
Right.
And I was thinking about Flatliners a little bit.
That movie.
And it's been forever since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But like just the idea that they're messing with things they don't understand, you know? And right now, they're in danger of chasing that dragon, as it were. And so there were several things in this episode that I was like, that's borderline concerning from an emotionally addictive standpoint. the things that they're messing with. Imogen witnesses the various dunamantic possibilities
Yeah.
that are Ashton's life.
Yeah. It's like he's an inverse beacon. Instead of seeing all the possibilities of your future, you see all the possibilities of his.
Not specified during the vision, but only after. Some of the versions that she saw, not a Ganassi.
Yeah. I love that he was either elf or half elf at one point.
Well, Rose.
That's the main universe. She's
dead. So. But
I guess I know it was here last week, and this isn't this week's episode, but I was watching live, and I had to shut it off and wait and watch.
I told him
when she blew the kisses and walked away. I was like, nope, I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of
it was powerful, yes. And honestly, now I'm afraid because Matt made that statement about character death, and one of the things he emphasized was if they don't want to continue with that character, we make that happen. And does Marisha not want to continue with Laudna? It's been a fear in the back of my mind all week. 2 weeks, I guess, now.
I think it's possible. I don't understand why.
I don't either.
I think arguably Marisha has been more at home in Laudna than she was in Bo.
Oh, easily.
And that could just be my perception of things, but I don't know. It felt like it took her 15 or 20 episodes with Bo to really sort of get fully into her skin, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where it felt like
she was there from scene one.
Yeah.
With Laudna.
So I don't know. I think Matt is saying that.
I think that's his standard. What
Yeah.
do you want to do? But, you know, it's just been a fear in the back of my head.
And I think had there been a break between, like if we had this speculation about Orem,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a bigger fear
Yes.
and much more likely to happen.
Yes.
Um,
And if we do get a ritual, there's a really good chance of success.
Yeah.
I actually figured it out. So the base DC is 11 because it's 10 plus the 1 because she's been dead once. Yeah, 3 checks. If it succeeds, it subtracts 3 from the DC. If it fails, it adds 1. So if all 3 succeed, the DC is 2. If all three fail, the DC is 14. Now, if it's Pike doing it, it's a charisma roll. It's not based on your spellcasting modifier. So she's got a +2.
Okay.
So 14. So worst case scenario, she's got to get a 12 or better on the die, which is what, 60%?
Yeah.
Or no, it's 40%, 45% that she'll get a 12 or
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Which is almost 50-50 in the worst case scenario. The best case scenario, she's got it, because no matter what she rolls, adding her 2 gets the 2.
Yeah. It's interesting that you count the one time she died already.
That's what the rules say.
I know, but
Would you not count it? Because it was when she was not even an NPC, just a prop.
part of me says no, but I also, a strict reading of his rules and the narrative information that we've been given, yes.
Yes, which is why I counted it. Well, I mean, the odds only get better if you don't count it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, speaking of chances to get Ladna back in our marriage, FCG during the dream sequence feels what it's like to have a body.
Yeah.
Fingers, legs, and as soon as he goes to enjoy it or glory in it, to feel the strength, he feels how much pain Ashton is in constantly.
Which, okay, so here's my thought. This is what came to my mind when that scene came. All right. What if, and this is tied because lewdness is involved somehow, and Rudisborn are always game changers, right, in history. Well, who's a game changer from campaign 2? Caleb. The guy who did. What spell did he create? For naught. Are they going to come across that spell? Are we going to have a Pinocchio moment where he becomes a real boy?
Huh. Interesting possibility, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but that thought went through my mind, and I was like, okay, that's enough that I need to mention it. You know?
Fair. I mean, they've been making the Pinocchio horror jokes for a while.
Caleb can be his blue fairy.
So I thought of it, so I have to say it. And I don't know, we may or may not get hate for it, but what it was Caleb Rudisborn? Question 1. Our crew this time have suggested that Keelan is Rudisborn.
Yes.
Both gingers.
Okay.
Imogen, not a ginger, but an odd hair coloration.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that somewhere on Exandria being a redhead marks you as ruinous porn?
I mean, I don't know that there is at this point in time, because even for a fantasy setting, it's a pretty progressive world.
True.
But just like left-handed Sinestros, where we get sinister, because if you were left-handed, you were thought to be a scion of the devil. I'm sure at some point in Exandria's history, redheads were shunned because of a connection to Ruinous.
Mm.
But I don't think that's really the case anymore.
Fair enough.
Unless it's raised in conspiracy theories like anti-Semitic things are raised nowadays and attributed to other things, you know.
Gingers don't have souls. They come from Ruinous.
Every freckle is a soul they stole and sent to Ruinous.
I mean, it kind of writes itself. Yeah. Them communicating with Keyleth and trying to get that connection. I wonder what it's like what I would like to see is the crew going to a Ren fair or a con and trying to coordinate amongst themselves where they're going to meet. Because I have to imagine it's as confusing and inefficient as their use of sending and trying to work out with Keyleth a ride. Because that just it tickled me. And to top it off, after the sending goes awry, Keyleth doesn't get the answers that she wants. Matt says, Orin, make a wisdom saving throw. And in the moment, I was like, is this gnome lady casting detect thoughts on him? And why him? And then the next sending happens. And she's like, I tried to see Orm, but there was interference.
Mm.
Which makes me wonder, because there's two implications there. One, Orm has not wanted to be found.
Yeah.
Scrying cannot be willingly failed, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Possibilities. But it was funny to me that he's hiding from Keyleth in that moment.
Yeah. See, when he first made the wisdom save, I didn't think is that, numbers. I was like, oh shit, is Liam in trouble? Is Orm under some kind of gas?
Oh yeah.
And she's like, you done fucked up, boy. And then it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, she's coming here. So good. I don't know if there's anything in particular to cover in this episode.
I got a question.
Okay.
And I don't think we have enough information for an actual answer. What was Keyleth doing in Vasselheim?
Oh, yes. I wanted, yes. So, we've been talking about the group of people who have been responsible for hiding information. And I think Keyleth was there trying potentially to suss out who's doing that.
That was my thought as well. Especially if she's heard about the two unknown gods.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember if they told her, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have other agents out there who could have covered it.
Yeah. Well, again, this goes to the fact that somebody in her court was looking into it, and that's why they were attacked.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think potentially, and she might have been there to get Pike for unrelated reasons.
Yeah.
Because Pike basically built or rebuilt Sarenrae's temple there.
Yeah, Ray's temple. Yeah, I was curious about that because, especially with the message that was sent, we have a lead. We found the assassins. Someone with strong ties to Whitestone. Like, if it wasn't major, those are things that would have triggered Keyleth to want to know more, and not just, well, maybe later. I've got shit to do.
Yeah.
That shit that she would have responded and then done her own sending to be like, what the hell is going on, Orem? Directly to him.
Yeah.
Which I'm almost surprised we haven't seen yet.
I was thinking something similar. But yeah.
So whatever she was doing, whether we're right or wrong, it's high level shit that she was doing in Vasselheim.
So, Rose, Orem talking about getting Dorian back.
And I think
if it is a quest thing, to have the dynamics at the table fit, it would make sense to have Robbie come back.
Yeah.
Well,
especially after Orem's death scene.
Yeah.
Where the sending stone he shares with Robbie falls out of his hand. Because in his last moments, he thought of his husband, but he pulled the stone to talk to Robbie. To talk to Dorian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I want Fern to steal.
I think she's going to steal many things from the Slayer's cake.
I think she's going to steal guns. I want Fern to be wielding bad news.
I think
and
she's
I only say
to get
Fern because it's too big for Mister to wield.
I could see her potentially getting a hold of a Um, but I don't know. Oh, one of the things I wanted to mention in this episode is we got the cathartic release that happens. Usually 1 to 3 episodes after tragedy. After something really bad happens and every scene is serious and emotional, and you have moments of levity here and there at the table, but things pretty quickly go back into the groove. And we got the big release in this episode from Laura about not being able to pull out. And that causing them to just laugh and not be able to move on. And every other word out of Matt's mouth causing everyone to laugh again.
Yeah.
So it was funny that, and it usually is Laura, but I think she really needed it.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the reasons why she went to Calm Emotions is
I think
her not wanting to deal.
Yeah. Well, I think that shit hits Laura harder than any of the other cast members. Whether, even though she wasn't there, whether it was Lucy and, Molly Mock dying, when Scanlon left.
Yeah.
Lauden is dead, Those character departures, even trusted NPCs, Laura, as a player, tends to react more viscerally than any of the others.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Matt is going to have a tall order in 2 weeks. Playing all of the potential members of Vox Machina that we will meet. The children of Vox Machina that we may meet. Because there's a lot of fallout that can happen around Laudna, around the residuum that they have.
That's one thing they could do. Instead of buying diamonds, they could buy just a shit ton of residuum, because that can be used for any monetary spell component.
Yeah, but I have a feeling Percy is aware that his main, well, I guess it's not their main export, but it is the one thing that can't be made anywhere else.
Yeah.
Is going awry. And I think Percy knows that it's going to happen, or that it's happening.
Yeah. I think at very least, even if they don't get diamonds, they'll be able to buy enough to bring Laudna back.
Yeah.
They'll be allowed that much minimum.
Yeah. I think we get a huge exposition dump in the first half of the episode. Depending on how long that takes and how many tangents we take, we could get to the resurrection before the break. But it might be after the break.
My guess is either after the break or they're going to push it off one more episode. I think pre-break is going to be the disclosure of Laudna, who she was, connection to Delilah, debate over the ethics of saving Laudna versus letting Delilah rot. Break, come back, ritual.
Yeah.
Because in that there's going to be the peppering of, oh, here's Vex. Oh, here's Pike. Oh, you know.
Yeah, and the reason I say it'll probably be pre-break is because I think Matt will want to do the heavy stuff. Give them a break. Because the rituals are always heavy.
Yeah. And that's, speaking of, that's, the ritual's a perfect time for Vax to make a cameo. Ushering the soul back to the body.
Yeah.
Just to pull on those tugs. Oh. Yeah, Keyleth, guess who you see?
Oh, man.
Let's just hit Marisha for all she's worth in one scene.
Yeah. But no episode this Thursday.
Yep.
Next week, I'm planning on streaming on Tuesday. We didn't talk about it before the show. But I had a request to type up my redesign of the Player's Handbook races. And I thought that might be fun to do on stream. It's a trap. Yeah.
Okay, Akbar.
But at any rate, I will see you guys next week, and we will see you the week after, I think.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves and each other.
I guess.